The room smells of dust and the past. Old books and photographs are what I have left. My name is Alda Blackwood, and in my 76 years, I'm all too aware of how quickly a person can go from a beloved mother to an annoying nuisance. I sit in my favorite chair, looking at a picture of Chloe and me standing by the lake. She was 11. We went there after Howard, my husband, died. She smiled then. She never smiles now. Alda Blackwood, I say to my reflection in the mirror, fixing my gray hair. Don't be sad. My house is full of memories. 37 years of teaching English literature at Silver Springs High School have left a mark not only on my soul, but also on the interior. Shelves of volumes of Shakespeare and Dickens, Austen and Bronte. Stacks of notebooks I never got around to throwing away. Postcards from former students. Mrs. Blackwood changed my life, wrote Eric Paxton, now a well-known journalist. Funny, my own daughter apparently wasn't impressed with me. The phone rings, pulling me out of my reverie. Chloe. Mom, Rafe and I are coming over in an hour. Don't cook anything, we just want to talk. Her voice sounds tense. She always does. Of course, dear. I answer with that gentleness, which I save for especially uncomprehending students. I'll be waiting. Chloe's 44. She works in a real estate office. Married Rafe Hadley 5 years ago. Second marriage. First ended in a scandalous divorce. No kids, but there's a constant dissatisfaction with life and me. Our relationship didn't deteriorate overnight. There was a period of rebellion when she turned 16, but that's normal. Then there were the good years in college when she called for counseling. Then the first husband, the divorce, and Rafe. Everything changed with his arrival. I look around the living room. Chloe and her husband have been dropping by a lot in the last month. Not out of love, that's for sure. After each visit, I notice small changes, missing photo albums, files moved. One day, I found Rafe in my office, rummaging through a desk drawer. Looking for a pen, he said then with a smile that didn't touch his eyes. My house, a 3-bedroom cottage in a quiet neighborhood in Silver Springs, had come to Howard and me after years of saving. We'd invested not only money in it, but our souls. Since his death from a heart attack 15 years ago, it's been my only solace. I walk slowly up the stairs to the study. There, behind a bookshelf, is a safe that no one knows about. Not even Chloe. Especially Chloe. I open it and check the contents. The original deeds to the house, the bank statements, the will. It's all there. What luck that I've never been trusted to keep important papers in ordinary places. I go back downstairs and make tea. Earl Grey is Howard's favorite. The knock on the door comes exactly 1 hour later. Chloe's always punctual when it comes to her interests. Mom! She kisses me on the cheek. She smells of expensive perfume and impatience. Rafe follows her, tall, with balding hair and a strained smile. He's wearing an expensive suit that I don't think he can afford. Alda, you look beautiful, he says, avoiding a direct look. What brings you to me this time? I ask, pouring tea. Chloe and Rafe exchange glances. This silent communication I've been observing for months. We're worried about you, Chloe begins. You live alone, and the house takes so much energy. I'm coping, I interrupt her. Mrs. Potter comes twice a week to help with the cleaning. It's not enough. Chloe shakes her head. Remember, you forgot to turn off the stove last month? Lie. I never forget to turn off the stove. And the stairs, Rafe adds. So many stairs. It's dangerous at your age. At my age. Like I'm 95 instead of 76. Rafe and I were thinking. Chloe pauses. Maybe we should consider care homes. There are some great places where you'd be looked after. You want to send me to a nursing home? I raise an eyebrow. Not a nursing home. Chloe objects a little too quickly. A community for active retirees, with 24-hour medical staff, Rafe adds. And entertainment? They continue talking, describing an old people's paradise, and I watch their hands. Chloe's nervous gestures, Rafe's tapping fingers. Something's not right here. What's going to happen to the house? I ask. We could keep an eye on it, Rafe says. Or if you decide it's too burdensome, help you sell it. Uh-huh. That's it. I'll think about it, I say, knowing I'll never agree. But right now, I'm quite comfortable here. After they leave, I sit in silence. What started as a vague suspicion has now crystallized. They want to evict me. But why? The house will go to Chloe when I die. Unless, 2 days later, something happens that confirms my fears. A man in a suit rings the doorbell. Mrs. Blackwood, I'm Miles Shepherd from Shepherd and Associates. I didn't call for you, I say, not inviting him in. Your daughter made an appointment. She said you wanted to discuss some changes to the documents. What kind of documents? Title to the house, power of attorney to manage your assets. Nothing out of the ordinary for someone of your, position. I remember teaching my kids critical thinking. Always look for a motive, I used to say. Follow the money. Mr. Shepherd, my daughter has no right to make appointments for me on such matters. Have a nice day. I close the door and immediately call Chloe. Why is there a lawyer here to see me? Oh, Mom, she sighs. I just wanted to help. You know how hard it is to deal with papers. I spent 37 years revising teenage essays, honey. I think I can handle my own papers. You're getting paranoid, she said with a steely tone in her voice. Rafe and I just want to make sure everything is properly filed. After the conversation, I decide to check the desk drawer where I kept copies of the documents. Half the papers are gone. The copy of the will, the insurance policy, the bank statements. Someone has clearly taken advantage of my absence. Tonight, the phone rings. There's no number. Mrs. Blackwood, this is Patrick Neary at Silver Trust Bank. We've received a request to change the beneficiary on your account. Just wanted to confirm that this is indeed your wish. A chill runs down my spine. I didn't send such a request. Hanging up the phone, I sit in the darkness of the living room. The picture is coming together, piece by piece. I've always prided myself on my insight. You have a sharp mind, Mrs. Blackwood, colleagues used to say. Now that mind tells me that my daughter and son-in-law are up to something serious. The next day, I call my longtime friend, Leontine Price. We taught together for 30 years, she in math, me in literature. Unlike me, she's always been lonely and has learned to protect herself from the world. Leo, I need your help. I think Chloe and her husband are up to something. I told you a long time ago that this Rafe, a swindler. She answers without surprise. What's wrong? I tell her everything. The strange visits, the missing documents, the call from the bank. They're trying to take control of your money and your house, she concludes. It's a classic pattern. I saw it with Edna Miller's sister. But why? Chloe's gonna get the house anyway after you die, which may not be as soon as they'd like, Leo asks sternly. Or maybe they're having financial problems. Rafe doesn't strike me as a man who knows how to handle money. I remember seeing betting apps on his phone a few times. How Chloe talked about temporary difficulties and asked to borrow a few thousand. How they constantly change cars and go on expensive vacations, even though their incomes don't allow it. What do, Leo? Well, for starters, hide all the original documents in a safe place, not in the house, maybe a safety deposit box, and call your nephew Nate. He works in IT, can help secure your accounts. Nate is the son of my late sister, Vivian. We were never particularly close, but I know he always treated me with respect, unlike my own daughter. And another thing, Alda? Leo's voice is getting harder. Don't show them you understand. Play the part of the trusting old lady. Give them a rope to hang themselves with. As I hang up the phone, I look at the picture of Chloe on the mantelpiece, the little girl with the pigtails I taught to be honest and straightforward. What went wrong? A week later, Chloe arrives again, this time alone. She looks stressed, but she tries to hide it behind fake concern. Mom, I signed you up for a tour of Silver Keys. It's that retirement community we talked about. You just get to see it. No commitment. I smile and nod, playing the part Leo suggested. Of course, darling. When? Tomorrow. Rafe and I will pick you up at 10 in the morning. She looks around the living room as if she's already figuring out what to sell. I suppress the urge to tell her I can see right through her. Chloe, honey, I say instead, you know I'll always take care of you, right? Even if I don't always understand your decisions. For a moment, something like shame flashes in her eyes, but it fades quickly. Of course, Mom. I care about you too. That's why Rafe and I want you to be safe. After she leaves, I go up to the bedroom and pull an old box from the bottom of the closet. Inside are Howard's letters from when we were engaged, pictures of Chloe the baby, an engagement ring that's gotten big for me, and the little tape recorder I used to use to record my lectures. I check to make sure it's working. Then I dial Nate's number. Aunt Alda? There's surprise in his voice. Is something wrong? Maybe, I answer. Say, Nate, do you still work with computers and phones? Yeah, I'm CTO at a cybersecurity startup. What can I do for you? I think I'm in trouble, and I need someone I can trust. I put my phone away and look out the window at the garden roses Howard planted. They still bloom every summer, stubborn and resilient, just like me. Tomorrow they're coming to pick me up for a field trip to the nursing home. Well, I'll be ready. Howard always said I was 10 steps ahead of everyone. Your mind is like a chessboard, Alda, he laughed. You see all the moves ahead. It was time to prove him right. At exactly 10 in the morning, Rafe's silver Lexus pulls up in front of the house. I watch from the window as he and Chloe get out of the car, both in expensive clothes, both with fake smiles. I learned long ago to detect sincerity in the small details. Chloe's eyes aren't smiling, and Rafe's fingers are tapping nervously on his thigh. My bag is by the door small with the essentials, like I'm really only going on a field trip. In my jacket pocket is a voice recorder. It's on. Mom, are you ready? Chloe comes in without knocking, using her key. You look beautiful. I'm wearing the pale blue suit I wore to my last high school graduation before I retired. Pearl earrings, Howard's 30th wedding anniversary present, low-heeled shoes. I'm not gonna look like a helpless old woman. Of course, dear. I look forward to exploring this wonderful place you've told me so much about. Rafe takes my bag, and we leave. I sit in the back seat of their car and notice a glance between the couple. Something's not right, but I continue to play the part of the trusting mother. Silver Keys is the best place around, Rafe says as we pull onto the main road. It's a paradise for active retirees. How much does this paradise cost? I ask innocently. Chloe tenses up. Don't worry about the money, Mom. We've got it all worked out. You did? I raise an eyebrow. How nice of you to spend your money on my well-being. Well, part of your savings are being used, Rafe says quickly. That makes sense, since we're talking about your comfort. My savings? Of course it is. 20 minutes later, we pull up to a large, modern glass and concrete building. There's a well-maintained park, an ornamental pond, benches. Everything looks expensive and sterile. No hint of coziness or individuality. Everything is calibrated to the millimeter. The curved sign reads Silver Keys in gold letters. Impressive, I say as Rafe opens the door for me. It looks like a 5-star hotel. Better, Chloe says enthusiastically. There's a spa, a pool, a library, a movie room. We enter a spacious hall with a marble floor and a reception desk. The receptionist, a young woman with an impeccable smile, immediately rises to meet us. Good afternoon. How can I help you? We have an appointment for a tour, Chloe says. The Hadley family? The receptionist looks at the computer, and her smile gets even wider. Oh, yes, of course. Mrs. Blackwood, we're so happy to see you. My name is Tiffany, and I'll be your coordinator. The principal is already waiting for you in his office. The principal? For a simple tour? That's odd. Tiffany leads us down a hallway with abstract paintings on the walls. The whole place smells rich and exclusive. We stop at a door with a sign that reads, Vernon Prescott, Director. Inside is an elegantly furnished office overlooking the garden. Behind the desk sits a man in his 60s in an expensive suit. He stands up when he sees us. Mrs. Blackwood, what an honor. I'm Vernon Prescott, Executive Director of Silver Keys. We are so pleased to welcome you to our family. I don't like his tone. It's too final. Thank you, Mr. Prescott, but I'm just here for a tour. I clarify. He looks puzzled and glances at Chloe. My daughter blushes. Mom, we wanted to surprise you. We've already organized. Organized? I remain calm, even though I'm seething with anger. We have all the necessary paperwork, Rafe explained with that smug smile I'd always hated. You can move in today. Your things will be delivered this afternoon. My stuff? I feel my fingers clench into fists. You packed my things without my knowledge? Only the essentials, Chloe says quickly. We'll bring the rest later when you decide exactly what you want. Mr. Prescott clears his throat, clearly feeling the tension. Mrs. Blackwood, we have a beautiful suite prepared for you, one of the finest rooms overlooking the garden. I assure you, you will love our community. May I see these, documents I supposedly signed? I ask, trying to keep my voice from shaking with rage. The director pulls a folder out of a desk drawer and holds it out to me. Inside is a living contract, a medical consent, financial documents, and my signature on every page. It's a forgery, a good one, but a forgery nonetheless. In 37 years of teaching, I've seen many attempts to forge parental signatures. It's not my signature, I say calmly. Chloe turns pale. Mom, you signed those papers 2 weeks ago. Do you remember when Mr. Shepherd came by? Lies. A bold-faced lie. I never met Mr. Shepherd. He came by, but I refused to talk to him. Rafe intervenes, his voice hardening. Alda, you forget things. It's normal at your age. That's why we're worried. Mr. Prescott, I turned to the principal, ignoring my son-in-law. I didn't sign those papers or agree to move here. The principal looks puzzled. Mrs. Blackwood, those papers were notarized. Not only did you sign them, but you did it in front of a lawyer. Who works for my brother-in-law, I believe. The awkward silence confirms my hunch. Mom, Chloe takes my hand. We're doing this for your own good. You're becoming unstable. You're forgetting things, getting confused. You need supervision. I'm perfectly sane, darling, I reply, releasing my hand. And I want to come home, now. We've already paid for the first month, Rafe says with pressure. There's no point in giving up the place. Really? Mr. Prescott intervenes. Why don't you take a look around the place? Perhaps you'll like it, and we can avoid misunderstandings. I realize that direct confrontation is futile at this point. We need to buy time, assess the situation. Like Leontina taught me, give them the rope. All right, I agree. Show me this marvelous place. The next 2 hours turn into a tour of the luxurious complex. Mr. Prescott proudly shows us the heated pool, the spa, the library with leather chairs, the dining room with restaurant service. We peek into a movie room where a few elderly people are watching an old comedy, a game room with pool tables, a sculpture garden. Everything looks expensive and impersonal, no trace of real life, only an imitation of comfort. And now your suite, Mr. Prescott announced, opening a door at the end of the third-floor corridor. The room is spacious, with large windows overlooking the garden, a bed, a sofa, a TV, a small kitchen area, and a bathroom. All new, clean, and completely foreign. "You're going to love it here, Mrs. Blackwood," says the director. "We have the best staff in the state, 24-hour medical care, and plenty of activities to keep you active." Chloe looks around the room with satisfaction. "See, Mom? Much better than that old house with its creaking floorboards and steep stairs." I don't answer, just sit on the edge of the bed, groping its hardness. Not my bed, not my house. "We can bring some of your things over to make this place more personal," Chloe suggests. "My books," I say, "and Howard's pictures." "Sure, Mom." Rafe looks at his watch. "We should go. I have a meeting at 1 o'clock. "Mr. Prescott, may we leave my mother-in-law in your care?" "Of course," the principal nods. Tiffany escorts Mrs. Blackwood into the dining room. "Today we're having lasagna, our specialty." I look at my daughter. "You're leaving? Right now?" "We have things to do, Mom." Chloe kisses my cheek without meeting my gaze. "We'll stop by tomorrow. Bring your things. In the meantime, settle in." And they leave, leaving me in a strange room, in a strange building, among strangers. As soon as the door closes, I pull out my phone and dial. "Leo, they've done it. Lured me to the Silver Keys and left me there. Claimed I signed all the paperwork." "I knew it." My friend's voice is full of anger. "Are you okay?" For now, but I need help." "What did they say about the house?" "Nothing specific, but things will be delivered. I'm afraid they're already planning the sale." "Does Nate know?" "I'll call him next." "Okay." Cell phone rings. "Don't make any sudden moves. Pretend you're okay with it. In the meantime, we'll find out what they're up to." After I talk to Leo, I call Nate and briefly explain the situation. "Aunt Alda, this is outrageous." He's outraged. "They have no right to do this." "But they did it," I reply, "and it looks like it's all legal. They forged my signature on documents. It's a criminal offense. We can sue. First, we need to figure out what they plan to do with the house and my accounts. Will you be able to—" A knock on the door interrupts the conversation. "I have to go," I say quickly. "I'll call you back later." I open the door and see Tiffany with her usual smile. "Mrs. Blackwood, lunch is ready. I'll show you to the dining room." The dining room turns out to be a large room with many round tables covered with white tablecloths. Along one wall is a buffet with dishes on display. Most of the tables are already occupied by elderly people. "Let me introduce you to some of our residents," Tiffany says, leading me to a table where 3 women about my age are seated. "Ladies, this is Mrs. Alda Blackwood, our newest resident. Mrs. Blackwood, this is Mrs. Doris Wilkinson, Mrs. Pearl Gant, and Miss Hattie Benson." The women look at me with polite interest. Doris, a full lady with dyed red hair, invites me to sit next to her. "Welcome to our little club, dear. Don't worry, the first few days are always the hardest." "I'm not here by choice," I say bluntly as Tiffany steps away. Pearl, a stick-thin woman with pearl earrings, nods understandingly. "So do most of us. Kids decide they know what's best." "My son said it was temporary while they fix the house," snorts Hattie, the oldest of the 3, with lively eyes behind thick glasses. "That was 3 years ago." I look around the dining room, noticing the same expression of resigned sadness on most of the faces. Some look pleased, but they're a minority. "How long have you been here?" I ask. 2 years, Doris replies, "after my daughter decided I was not managing the house. In fact, they just needed the money from the sale." 5 years, Pearl sighs. "My nephew runs my trust fund. Very convenient for him." "And your case?" Hetty asks. "The house, money, or both?" "Looks like both," I answer, laying down a lasagna that looks tasteless, but they miscalculated. I'm not about to give up. Three pairs of eyes look at me with sudden interest. Really? Hattie's voice becomes animated. What are you planning? I'm not sure yet, but I have friends on the outside, and unlike a lot of people here, I'm sane and sane. Oh, we're all sane, dear, Doris giggled. It's just convenient for some people to pretend otherwise, especially in front of the staff. I look back at the nurse who's watching us from the corner. Are they watching you? They sure do. Pearl nods, especially in the first few weeks, checking to see if we're rambunctious. Have you ever tried, leave? All three of them exchange glances. The code on the front door, Hattie says, and guards who are looking out for our safety. Is this a prison? I ask quietly. A golden cage, Doris corrects me, with a swimming pool and a movie room. After lunch, I return to my suite and sit by the window, looking out at the garden below. I see elderly people walking along the paths, sitting on benches. Some are in wheelchairs. All around is a high fence with a gate, which is probably also coded. I take the recorder out of my pocket and press stop. The whole morning is recorded. Every lying word from Chloe and Rafe, every admission from the principal about notarized documents. The phone is back in my hand, dialing. Leo, I need your help. And Nate, I'm trapped, but I'm not gonna sit quietly. What did you find out? My friend's voice is strained. This place is an elite prison for the elderly, whose relatives want to get rid of them. I'm not the only one. There's dozens like me in here. We'll get you out, Alda. No. I look at the garden where a nurse is helping an old man in a wheelchair. First, I want to understand what Chloe and Rafe are planning with my house and bills. I'm going to stay here for a few days. It'll give us time. Are you sure about this? It's dangerous. I've dealt with troubled teens my whole life, Leo. Trust me, these guardians don't scare me. After we talk, I lie on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I think back to Howard, to our house, to my years of teaching. I never thought I'd be in this situation at 76. But I'm not broken, I'm angry, and I'm ready to fight. A knock on the door interrupts my thoughts. A nurse stands on the doorstep with a tray. Time for your medication, Mrs. Blackwood, she says with a professional smile. What medication? I'm not taking anything. Oh, it's just vitamins and a mild sedative. Standard procedure for new residents. Helps with adjustment. I'm looking at the pills on the tray. White, blue, and pink. They don't look like vitamins. No, thank you. I don't need sedation. The nurse's smile is getting strained. It's doctor's orders, Mrs. Blackwood. All new residents must. I refuse, I say firmly. And I want to see the doctor who prescribed these vitamins without seeing me. She hesitates, then nods. I'll pass your request on to Dr. Morris, but I'll leave the pills here, just in case. When she leaves, I flush the pills down the toilet. Whatever it is, I'm not about to become an obedient zombie like some of the residents I've seen in the cafeteria. In the evening, I join the entertainment program in the common lounge, bingo for the seniors. I sit down next to Hattie, who turns out to be the most lively and adequate resident I've met. How was your first day? She asks, placing the chips on her card. Informative, I reply. I've learned a lot about the way this place works. And about my children too, I suppose. She smiles sadly. We've all gone through that epiphany. Not all kids are like that, I think of Nate. My daughter. Marriage to that man changed her. Or maybe she's always been this way, and I didn't want to see it. Bingo starts, and the conversation is interrupted. But later, as we walk back down the hallway, Hattie takes my hand. If you really need help, Alda, you've come to the right place. Not everyone here has accepted their fate. She looks around, making sure no one's listening. Come to the library tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Tell them you're looking for Agatha Christie's 10 Negroes. That's the password. Password? I look at her in surprise. We have our own little resistance circle, she winks. We can help each other. That night I lie awake in someone else's bed, listening to the ticking of the clock on the wall. Outside the window is the manicured garden of Silver Keys, and beyond the fence is freedom. And somewhere in Silver Springs is my home, which Chloe and Rafe have probably already started emptying out. I can't let that happen. But first, I need to understand how deep their plan goes. How many others like me have ended up here at the mercy of greedy relatives? And what can I do not only for myself, but for them as well? Hattie's resistance circle sounds almost comical, but I'm a literature teacher. I know the power of uniting against a common enemy. Tomorrow I'll start gathering information and let Chloe and Rafe think they're rid of me. They have no idea who they're messing with. The morning light is reluctant to filter through the blinds. I wake up in an unfamiliar bed, and for a moment disorientation sets in. Then the memories of yesterday come crashing down heavy. Silver Keys, the nursing home, Chloe and Rafe, betrayal. The clock on the wall reads 8 in the morning. In my real home, I'd already be having my first cup of coffee on the veranda, listening to the birds in the garden. Here I can't hear the birds, just the muffled hum of the air conditioner and someone's footsteps in the hallway. I force myself to get up, wash my face, get dressed. My closet is now limited to the contents of a small bag, which I took with me on the excursion. Chloe promised to bring the rest of my clothes today, though who knows what of my possessions are still left untouched. At 8:30, there is a knock on the door. A nurse, a different one from yesterday, with a tray. "Good morning, Mrs. Blackwood. I'm Nancy, your morning nurse. Here's your medicine and your breakfast. There's oatmeal, toast, orange juice, and of course the same 3 pills." "Thank you for breakfast," I say, accepting the tray. But I refuse the medication. I don't take any medication. Nancy smiles with professional insistence. "It's standard procedure, Mrs. Blackwood. Vitamins and a mild sedative. Helps you adjust. Exactly the same words you said last night." A learned phrase? "I want to talk to Dr. Morris," I insist. "I asked for it yesterday." "Dr. Morris is at the clinic today," Nancy replies. "He's here on Mondays and Thursdays." "Then I'll wait until Thursday," I say firmly. "And I won't take any medication until then." Nancy hesitates, then nods and takes the pills. "Whatever you say, Mrs. Blackwood, but the administration will be notified of your refusal." "Notify whoever you want." I smile defiantly. "I'm sane and have the right to control what goes into my body." After she leaves, I eat the flavorless oatmeal, drinking tap water. The juice seems too sweet, probably with additives too. Then I pull out my phone and check my messages. 3 missed calls from Nate, 2 from Leontina. No word from Chloe. I call my nephew. "Aunt Alda, I tried to call you last night." "I'm sorry, Nate. There was an active social program here." I can't resist sarcasm. "How are you doing in there? They're not, treating you badly?" Aside from the attempts to drug me with unknown drugs, I'm pretty much fine, I answer. But I've learned that I'm not alone in my situation. There are a lot of people like me here whose relatives have decided they'd rather be locked up. I started investigating. Nate's voice turned serious. "I checked public records. Your house is still in your name, but there's a new power of attorney, dated last week, authorizing Chloe and Rafe to act for you in all financial matters." A chill runs down my spine. It's a forgery. It could be, but it's notarized, just like your placement papers at Silver Keys. I'm checking out this notary, one Edwin Greer of North Silver Springs. He doesn't have a website, which is odd for a lawyer. "Check his connections to Rafe," I suggest. "Maybe they know each other." "Already on it. One more thing." Nate lowers his voice. "I found out that Rafe started gambling again. There are records of his visits to casinos in Atlantic City, large sums of money. So that's where the urgency to get rid of me came from, I mutter. They need money and fast. Exactly. I also checked your bank accounts. Chloe tried to change the beneficiary on your main account, but the bank suspended the transaction because of suspicion. However, 10 grand in cash was withdrawn from your savings account 2 days ago. What? That's impossible. I never. They used a power of attorney, Aunt Alda. Legally, with the new documents, they can act on your behalf. I clench my teeth, feeling the anger rising inside. We need proof of forgery, and fast, before they empty all my accounts. I've already contacted a lawyer who specializes in elder rights. She wants to meet with you. That could be tricky. The way out of here is controlled. We'll figure something out. In the meantime, be careful, Aunt Alda. These people will stop at nothing. After I talk to Nate, I go down to the common room. Several residents are already gathered there, some watching the morning show on TV, some playing cards, others just sitting there, staring into space with glassy eyes. I spot Doris at the window with a book in her hands. Good morning, I greet her, sitting down next to her. How did you sleep on the government pillow? She hums, closing the book. 32 months, and I'm still not used to it. You've gone off the pills, I hear. News travels fast around here. Yes, I'm not gonna swallow any unknown drugs. Right. She leans closer. They make you docile, obedient. I took them for the first 6 months. Walked around like a zombie. Then I started spitting them out. She's smirking. I put it under my tongue, and when the nurse leaves, I flush it down the sink. Why are they so persistent with these meds? Doris shrugs. Calm residents, less problems, fewer questions about where our money and possessions disappear to. My phone vibrates in my pocket, a message from Chloe. Mom, call me when you can. I apologize to Doris and retreat to a corner of the living room for privacy. I dial my daughter's number. Mom, her voice sounds strained. How are you settling in? Fine. I answer dryly. I was especially impressed with the attempts to pump me full of sedatives. It's just vitamins. Don't lie to me, Chloe. I wasn't born yesterday. Pause. Then, Mom, I'm calling to tell you that Rafe and I are going on vacation today. Bermuda for a week. It's been a long time in the planning. How convenient. I can't hide my sarcasm. Getting rid of my mother and going on vacation. Don't say that. Her voice trembles. Whether it's anger or shame, I don't know. We're doing this for your own good. You didn't do it alone. I was doing fine, Chloe, and you know it. Look, she changes her tone to businesslike. We'll sort through your stuff when we get back. We'll decide what to bring you and what to keep. To keep. And what about the 10,000 you took out of my account? Long silence. How did you? It's for the silver keys, Mom. You don't think a place like this is free, do you? And the power of attorney I supposedly signed authorizing you to dispose of all my assets? Mom, you're getting a little paranoid. This is exactly what we were worried about. I can't talk anymore. Our plane's coming. I'll call you in a week. Chloe, my voice is getting hard. What are you doing to my house? I'll call you back, Mom. Bye. Bye. And she hangs up, leaving me with a racing heart. Bye is such an ordinary word for someone who has just betrayed the person closest to her. I turn back to Doris, trying to control my emotions. Bad news? She asks, noticing my face. My daughter and her husband are going to Bermuda. For a week. Squandering your money? Doris nods understandingly. Classic. Mine went on a Mediterranean cruise right after I moved in. What about your house? Sold it a month after I got here. She chuckles bitterly. The ocean view condo my husband and I bought 30 years ago. Some Hollywood starlet lives there now. But how could they sell it without your consent? Doris looks at me like a naive child. A fake power of attorney, honey. They showed me a document with my supposed signature on it. I've been signing the same way for years, every check, every letter. It's not hard to forge. I'm reminded of the lawyer who came to my house, Shepard, and the notary that Nate was talking about, Greer. Is there a computer here with internet access? I'm asking. In the library, but only those approved by the management can use it. Strict communication controls. You know, I think back to Hattie's invitation, the library at 3 o'clock. 10 Negroes. Speaking of the library, I say, lowering my voice, Hattie invited me there today. Mentioned some kind of club. Doris's eyes light up. Oh, you've already met our Hattie. Yeah, you should definitely go. It's interesting. By 3 o'clock, I'm on my way to the library, a spacious room on the first floor with tall bookshelves and comfortable armchairs. It's quiet, with only the rustle of pages and the muffled voices of a few residents. At the far window, I notice Hattie sitting with a book. Next to her is Pearl and a few other older people I haven't met. I walk over to the shelf of detectives and ask loudly, "Excuse me, do you have Agatha Christie's 10 Negroes?" Hattie looks up and smiles. "Oh, the new girl is looking for a good read. Come over here, dear. I have just the book." I sit down in the chair next to her, and everyone in the room looks at me with interest. "So," Hattie says quietly, "you've decided to join our little reading club. If by reading you mean finding a way to get out of here and get your possessions back, then yes," I reply. The older man with the military bearing hums approvingly. "I like that, Lady Hetty. Let's get right to it. I'd like you to meet Colonel Montgomery, ex-military, here for 4 years, thanks to a caring stepson who's taken over his pension and his house. We have a project," Hattie says cryptically. "We're gathering evidence against Silver Keys and a chain of similar establishments. We're documenting fraud, forgery, misappropriation of property. We're preparing a class action lawsuit. With the help of whom? There's a lawyer," Professor Chen answers, "specializes in elder law, Martha Caulfield. She's already won several cases against facilities like this. Nate mentioned an elder rights attorney," I exclaim. "Maybe it's her." "Maybe," Hetty nods. "The circle of such specialists is small, but we need hard evidence, especially against the notaries and lawyers who are involved in these schemes." "Shepard and Greer," I say. Do those names ring a bell? The Colonel and Professor Chen exchange glances. "Oh, yes," the Colonel replies. "Those two are involved in a lot of stories. Shepard is the lawyer who does the paperwork. Greer is the notary who notarizes them. They work with Prescott and others like him. After reading club, I call Leontina and tell her about the meeting. 'Leo, I need you to get in touch with an attorney named Martha Caulfield. She specializes in elder law.'" "Martha Caulfield?" Leo sounds surprised. "Alda, that's amazing. Nate already contacted her this morning. She's on your case." "What? Now I'm surprised." "How? Apparently, it's a small world when it comes to fraud defense," Leo replies. "She's well known in those circles. Nate found her through a lawyer friend of his. Nate discovered something else interesting," Leo continues. "Rafe isn't just gambling, he's in serious debt. About $200,000 to various creditors, including a couple of not-so-legal organizations. That's why they needed my money and house so urgently. I understand. But why would Chloe, my own daughter? People do strange things out of fear and greed, Alda." Leo sighs. "Perhaps she fears for her life or well-being, or too used to a certain standard of living they can no longer afford." "What do we do next?" I ask. "Martha wants to meet with you. She's working on a strategy." Nate is trying to access Chloe and Rafe's email correspondence to find evidence of their collusion with Shepard and Greer. Great, I nod, and I'll be gathering information here. The Reading Club is preparing a class action lawsuit against Silver Keys and similar establishments. Be careful, Alda. Leo's voice grows uneasy. These people are dangerous. They have a lot to lose if their scheme gets exposed. I will be careful, I promise. But I won't give up, not just for my own sake, but for everyone here who's been betrayed by their own children. The 3 days since Chloe's call have been a dragging monotony. I diligently played the role of a resigned old lady, attending entertainment events, bingo, watching old movies, lectures on healthy lifestyles in old age. The nurses still tried to hand me pills, but I invariably refused, insisting on seeing Dr. Morris. Prescott avoided me, though he never provided me with the promised copies of documents. But outward humility concealed a flurry of activity. Every night I talked with Nate and Leontina, getting new pieces of the puzzle. In the afternoon, I met with members of Hattie's Reading Club, exchanging information. Thursday morning, as I was eating breakfast in the dining room with Doris and Pearl, Tiffany came over to our table with a glued-on smile. Mrs. Blackwood, you have a visitor. He's waiting in the meeting room. I raised my eyebrows in surprise. Who is it? Is my daughter back from Bermuda? No, some woman. Said she was your lawyer. My heart jumped. Martha Caulfield? That fast? I hurried after Tiffany down the hallway to a small room where residents usually met with infrequent guests. At the desk sat an elegant African-American woman in her 50s, wearing a strict blue suit. At my appearance, she stood up and extended her hand. Mrs. Blackwood, I'm Martha Caulfield, your attorney. Tiffany frowned. I need to check your credentials, Ms. Caulfield. We have strict rules about— Of course. Martha opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. Here's a power of attorney from Mrs. Blackwood to represent her. Tiffany ran her eyes over the document, then nodded reluctantly. Good, you have 30 minutes. She walked out, leaving the door ajar. Martha closed the door quietly and returned to her desk. They're always eavesdropping, she said quietly. Keep your voice low and watch your wording. I nodded, appreciating her professionalism. How did you get in here? I thought it was impossible without Chloe's consent. They have no legal grounds to prevent you from seeing a lawyer. Martha smiled. It's a violation of your civil rights. Besides, she winked, I know their weaknesses. I used to work in the district attorney's office, investigating places like this. And what did you find out about the Silver Keys? Prescott's part of a chain that operates 5 similar facilities across the state. They specialize in, shall we say, holding elderly people whose relatives want access to their assets. Lawyer Shepard and Notary Greer are regular partners in the scheme, and it's all legal. I couldn't believe it. It's in a gray area, Martha replied. They exploit loopholes in the law, temporary guardianship, medical necessity, fake incapacity evaluations. Until someone challenges it in court, the system works. And we're going to challenge it? Exactly. But first, we need to secure your assets. I have some bad news, Mrs. Blackwood. Your daughter and son-in-law have already put your house on the market. It took my breath away. How? So soon? It was advertised yesterday on the website of the agency where Chloe works. Classic 3-bedroom cottage in a beautiful neighborhood. The asking price is $650,000. That's below market value, I muttered. The house was worth at least $100,000 more. They're in a hurry, Martha nodded. Nate had found out that Rafe's creditors were getting impatient. Some of them aren't people to mess with. I clenched my fists, trying to control my anger. What can we do? I filed an emergency motion to block the sale based on suspected fraud, and a separate motion to restore your legal capacity and terminate the guardianship, Will that stop them? Temporarily, yes, but we need proof of falsified documents. You said you have the original deeds to the house? Yeah, in a safe behind a bookshelf in my office. Chloe doesn't know about it. Oh, great. Nate's planning on breaking in and getting them. Does he have a key? Yeah, I gave him a spare when this whole thing started. I remembered our last conversation. He said he found something interesting in Chloe and Rafe's email correspondence. Martha nodded, opening a folder of printouts. These were the messages they'd exchanged over the last month. Nate accessed their email accounts. Don't ask me how. She smiled. I looked through the printouts. My blood boiled in my veins as I read Chloe and Rafe discussing the old hag problem and asset release. Shepard says legally the easiest thing to do is to get full custody, Rafe wrote. That would require proving her incapacity. Dr. Morris is willing to provide the certificate for a certain amount of money. I'm not sure, Chloe replied. Mama has always been sharp of mind. No one would believe she was suddenly incapable of making decisions. That's why Prescott suggests putting her in Silver Keys first. There they can document the signs of dementia, disorientation, forgetfulness, paranoia, especially if she takes the prescribed medications. I felt nauseous, realizing the depth of their betrayal. These medications they're trying to give me. Most likely sedatives and psychotropic drugs, Martha nodded, to really make you seem disoriented and confused, classic tactics of such institutions. And my own daughter agreed to this? I was filled with bitterness. According to her correspondence, she was hesitant, but Rafe insisted. Here's a message from Chloe. I feel terrible about this, but what are we gonna do? The casino guys are threatening to break your legs, and Mom's house and savings are just lying dead weight. I closed my eyes, trying to deal with the pain. My daughter, my only child. How did we come to this? Is this enough evidence for a trial? I asked, pulling myself together. Not by themselves. Martha shook her head. Emails can be challenged. We need stronger evidence, like Greer's notary's testimony about how the documents were forged. And how do we get that evidence? I have a plan. Martha smiled. Greer is the weak link. He's been involved in a lot of shady deals, and I've got something on him. Last year, he probated the will of a man who was in a coma. I represented the real heirs, but I couldn't follow through. Greer might be inclined to cooperate if offered immunity from prosecution. I nodded, impressed with her approach. In the meantime, Martha continued, you need to stay here and continue to refuse medication. Document all interactions with the staff. And most importantly, don't tell anyone about our plans, not even the other residents in the reading club. Why not? They're on our side. Of course they are, but the walls here have ears. The fewer people who know the details, the safer it is. When Martha left, I returned to the dining room with my head spinning. Doris and Pearl were waiting for me, burning with curiosity. Well, what did your lawyer say? Doris asked. We're working on my release, I answered evasively. But it will take time. What about your house? Pearl lowered her voice. They've already put it on the market, I said bitterly. Both women nodded understandingly, a story all too familiar to them. In the evening, I met with the reading club at the library. Hattie, Colonel Montgomery, Professor Chen, and the other members sat in their usual corner, pretending to discuss Dickens. My granddaughter promised to visit me this weekend, Hetty was saying loud enough for a nurse passing by. When she left, Hattie turned to me. How was your meeting with Martha? Productive, I said. She's working on my case, and all of your cases, too. Details? The colonel asked. I remembered Martha's warning and shook my head. It's best not to talk here, but she thinks we have a chance not only to stop Chloe and Rafe, but to bring the whole network to justice. Prescott, Shepard, Greer, ambitious, Dr. Phelps chuckled. But if anyone can do it, Martha can. That evening, back in my room, I called Nate. Aunt Alda, I was just about to call you. I went to your house today. How's he doing? Chloe and Rafe had already moved some stuff out. Paintings, silver, some of the furniture. But most of it's still there. I found the safe behind the bookshelf like you described, but I couldn't get it open. The code is Howard's date of birth, August 2nd, 1955. Okay, I'll write it down. I'll be back there tomorrow. Also, Aunt Alda, I looked deeper into their finances. Rafe owes $120,000 to the Golden Sand Casino in Atlantic City, and about $80,000 more to various creditors, including one Vince Morella. Who's that? According to the police reports I found, a small-time gangster with ties to loan sharking and illegal gambling. Not the kind of person you want to owe money to. I remembered the messages Martha had shown me. Casino guys threatening to break your legs. Their urgency is clear now, I said. They're desperate. Yeah, and there's something else. Chloe's pregnant. What? I felt the ground slipping away from under my feet. My daughter's having a baby? About 12 weeks, according to the medical records. They were planning to tell you after the house and money were settled. Apparently, they wanted to present it as a reason why they needed the extra funds. I sat on the bed, trying to make sense of this news. A grandson or granddaughter. A child I might never see again because of his parents' betrayal. Aunt Alda, are you okay? Yeah, Nate, I'm just, shocked. I've gotten my head together. It doesn't change anything. They're still trying to steal from me and keep me locked up. I agree. I keep collecting evidence. By the way, Martha said she's meeting with Greer tomorrow. She has a plan. I hope it works. The next day, I slipped quietly into Prescott's office while he was giving a tour to potential clients. The blinds were down, but the door was unlocked. Assertiveness or carelessness, whatever. I quietly entered and took a quick look around. The desk was neat, most of the papers tucked away in drawers. I tried the top one, but it was locked. The bottom one was unlocked and contained folders with residents' names on them. I found mine and quickly flipped through it. Among the standard forms, I found a letter from Dr. Morris dated a week earlier. Patient shows signs of early dementia. A medication regimen is recommended to control anxiety and alleviate behavioral problems. I had never met Dr. Morris. The folder also contained a copy of a power of attorney, supposedly signed by me, and a court order for temporary guardianship. And pictures of my house, inside and out, obviously for sale. After taking a few pictures of the documents on my phone, I quietly returned the folder to its place and slipped out of the office. In the evening, Martha called me with an update. The meeting with Greer had gone well. He agreed to cooperate in exchange for immunity. He admitted to the forgery? Yes, and not just in your case. He provided a list of 12 other senior citizens whose IDs were forged in a similar scheme. Some of them are now at Silver Keys, others at similar establishments in the chain. And that's enough for a trial? More than enough. The DA's office is ready to file charges against Prescott, Shepard, and several others. It's gonna be a high-profile case. And Chloe and Rafe? Pause. They too will be prosecuted for fraud, forgery, and financial crimes. I know it's your daughter, Mrs. Blackwood. She made her choice, I said firmly, and she must be held accountable. Good. Then the next step is to get you out of there. I filed a motion for an emergency court order for your release. Judge Harrison will consider it tomorrow morning. That soon? We have enough evidence of unlawful detention. Greer confirms he never met you or authorized your paperwork. Dr. Morris is also under investigation for writing medical reports without seeing the patients. What about the other residents? Hetty, the colonel, everyone else? We're working on it, Martha assured me. After we get you out, we'll work on each of them. It'll be a step-by-step process, but they'll all come out of there. After talking to Martha, I called Leontina to update her on the progress. Great, Alda, she exclaimed. I always said you were the most stubborn of the two of us. Stubborn, I corrected with a smile. Years of working with teenagers have taught me not to give up. What are you planning to do with Chloe and Rafe? I wondered. These days in confinement had given me a lot to think about. The anger at my daughter and son-in-law hasn't abated, but it has transformed into something colder and more focused. I want them to suffer the consequences of their actions, I said at last. Not just legal ones, but personal ones. They need to lose what they tried to gain and realize what they've done. Sounds like a plan for revenge, Leo said with a little trepidation. Not revenge, I corrected. Justice. I'm not just fighting for me. I'm fighting for everyone here. Hetty, Doris, the Colonel, those who are too weak or broken to fight back. So, what's your plan? I'm going to strip them of everything, I said, surprised at my own determination. I'll sign the house over to a charity for victims of elder financial abuse. The money they tried to steal will go to legal fees for those who can't afford it, and I will publicly tell the story of how my own daughter tried to get rid of me for money. Harsh, Alda, Leo said quietly. Fair enough, I countered. They didn't just betray me. They betrayed what I'd tried to teach them all their lives: honesty, responsibility, family values. And the baby? Leo asked cautiously. Nate said that Chloe was pregnant. I swallowed the lump in my throat. The thought of a grandson or granddaughter I might never see still hurt. I'll think about it later, I said. First, we need to get out of here and secure our possessions. Then, personal matters could be dealt with. When I went to bed that night, I felt hopeful for the first time in days. The plan was ready. The evidence was gathered. The allies had been mobilized. Now all that remained was to wait for morning and Judge Harrison's decision. I looked at the picture of Howard I always kept in my bag. He was smiling his special smile, a little crooked but full of warmth. We almost made it, honey, I whispered. Our daughter had betrayed us both, but I wouldn't let her get away with it. Outside the window, the sun was setting, coloring the immaculately manicured garden of the Silver Keys with gold and purple. Somehow it seemed symbolic, the sunset of one chapter of my life and the beginning of a new one. A chapter in which I would not only fight for myself, but also help others in the same position. The plan for revenge, no, justice was ready, and I, Alda Blackwood, was going to carry it out to the fullest. Judge Harrison turned out to be the exact opposite of what I expected. Instead of a stern, elderly man in a robe sitting behind a high judicial pulpit, I was greeted by an energetic woman of about 45, dressed in an austere suit. She had come in person to Silver Keys, accompanied by a bailiff and a representative of the district attorney's office. Mrs. Blackwood, she greeted me, ignoring Prescott's protests. I'm Judge Emily Harrison. I have reviewed your case and find the circumstances of your placement here highly suspicious. Your Honor, we have all the paperwork in order, Prescott interjected with a strained smile. Mrs. Blackwood is under the legal guardianship of her daughter, which is based on forged documents, the judge cut off. I have an affidavit from Notary Greer confirming the forgery. Mrs. Blackwood, do you wish to leave this institution? Yes, Your Honor, I replied, still not believing that release had come so quickly. Then pack your things. I have signed an order to immediately terminate your detention here and cancel all custody papers. Prescott turned pale. But that's against protocol. We can't just— You can and you will, Mr. Prescott. The judge's voice turned icy. Unless you want to add unlawful imprisonment to the fraud charges. I'd never had so much fun packing before. I was putting my few belongings into my bag when there was a knock at the door. Hattie stood on the threshold, followed by Doris and Colonel Montgomery. "We heard you were leaving," Hattie said. "Congratulations." "Not only leaving," I replied, hugging her. "Martha says your business will be next. Soon we'll all be free." "You were the catalyst," the Colonel smiled. "Sometimes it only takes one person to start a revolution." As I walked out of the Silver Keys building, accompanied by Judge Harrison and Martha, I saw Leontina waiting by her car. "Alda!" She rushed to embrace me. "At last!" "Thank you, Leo," I whispered, tears welling up in my eyes. "For everything." "Don't cry." She patted my back. "We still have a lot of work to do. Nate's waiting for us at your house." On the way out, Martha explained what was going on. The district attorney's office has launched a major investigation into the Silver Key chain and the lawyers associated with it. Shepard is already under investigation. Greer is cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence. Dr. Morris is also on law enforcement's radar. "And Chloe and Rafe?" I asked, thinking about my daughter and son-in-law. "They're still in Bermuda," Leontina answered. "They'll be back tomorrow night, unsuspecting. Nate is monitoring their correspondence." When we pulled up to my house, I was relieved to see that the exterior looked the same. The for sale sign was gone, and the lawn was neatly mowed. Inside, I was greeted by Nate, working on his laptop on the kitchen table. "Aunt Alda," he gave me a hug. "It's so great to have you back." "Thanks to you," I patted his shoulder. "You and Leo are my saviors." "We just helped," he replied modestly. "You fought your own fight." "Where are we with the documents?" Martha asked, getting to the point. "Everything's fine." Nate pointed to the stack of papers on the table. I pulled the originals from the safe. "Everything's here. House deeds, insurance, bank statements, will." I also found something else interesting. He pointed to a folder labeled Chloe's School. "These are Chloe's school papers?" I was surprised. "And copies of all the checks for her education," Nate nodded. "Private school, college, even real estate classes, all paid for by you and Uncle Howard." I opened the folder and saw the neatly folded receipts, evidence of years of investment in my daughter's education. Thousands of dollars, decades of care. "This could come in handy," Martha said quietly. "Show the jury the difference between your care for your daughter and her actions toward you." So, Leontina sat down at the table. "It's time to discuss a plan of action. What do we do next?" I took a deep breath. "We destroy their plans, completely." We spent the next few hours strategizing. Nate, with his IT skills, became our technology center. "I've already accessed all their email correspondence," he explained. "Not just personal emails, but Chloe's work email as well. She used her position at the real estate agency to expedite the sale of the house. That's a breach of professional ethics at the very least." "I can use that," Martha nodded. "The professional associations of realtors are very strict about such violations. And I've contacted Eric Paxton," Leontina added. "You remember him, Alda? He's a former student of yours, now working for the Silver Springs Gazette." "Of course I remember him," I smiled. "One of the most talented writers I've ever taught. A little brash, but very smart. He became a top investigative journalist," Leo continued, "and he was very interested in the story of how a respected teacher who had educated generations of Silver Springs residents had fallen victim to a fraudulent scheme." "You want to go public?" I felt a pang of doubt. "It would be a scandal." "That's exactly what they deserve," Leontina said firmly. "Not just your daughter and son-in-law, but the whole gang. Prescott, Shepard, Greer, Dr. Morris. Public exposure will stop them from going after other seniors." "Eric's already working on the article," she added. "It'll come out tomorrow morning just before Chloe and Rafe get back." I did something too, Martha stepped in. I contacted your former student, Samantha Reeves. Samantha? I raised my eyebrows in surprise. She was in my class in '97, wasn't it? Exactly, Martha nodded. Now she's the deputy director of Silver Trust Bank, where you have your accounts, and she's very concerned about unauthorized access. The bank has frozen all transactions in your accounts, Martha explained, and has launched its own investigation into the attempted fraud. It could cause more problems for Chloe and Rafe. It's amazing, I whispered. It's been so many years, and the connections still work. You were a good teacher, Aunt Alda. Nate smiled. People remember that. And one more thing, Leontina added. Do you remember Robert Jenkins? He's an attorney now at the Realtor Licensing Board. He's very interested in Chloe's case. The plan was getting clearer and clearer. My former students, now adults in positions of authority, were becoming unexpected allies. 37 years of teaching hadn't gone to waste. What about the real estate agency where Chloe works? I asked. I talked to the owner, Jeffrey Coleman, Martha answered. He was shocked to learn about Chloe's frauds. He was especially outraged by the use of company resources to sell the house without your consent. And what will he do? Suspend her at the very least. And if Robert gets her license revoked, he'll fire her altogether. By late afternoon, we'd finalized the details of the plan. Nate showed me printouts of Chloe and Rafe's emails from the last few days. Can't wait to get back, Chloe wrote. Hope Mom is okay at this place. Don't worry, Rafe replied. Prescott said she's adjusting well, especially after she starts taking her meds regularly. Still feel awful. She's always taken care of me. We take care of her too, baby, just in a different way. She'll be better off under professional care, and we need to think about the future, about the baby. Reading these messages was painful. Chloe seemed to have some remorse, but not strong enough to stop Rafe, or at least call and check on me for real. Would the police be involved? I asked Martha. They will. Forgery, fraud, and attempted misappropriation of property are felonies. I've already filed a report, and Detective Morales is on the case. He'll be here tomorrow when they get back. I don't want them arrested at the airport, I said thoughtfully. Let them realize their plan has failed first. Then we'll let them come home, Martha nodded. And then we'll give them a surprise. That night, sitting in my bedroom, I paged through old photographs. Chloe the baby in Howard's arms. Chloe the schoolgirl with pigtails and a gap-toothed smile. Chloe the senior in her gown and cap. Chloe in her wedding dress next to Rafe. When did it all go wrong? Was it a gradual process or a sudden turnaround? Maybe I missed something in her upbringing? Or was it entirely the influence of Rafe and his debts? I found no answers, but I came to realize that despite the pain of betrayal, Chloe is still my daughter, and the child she's carrying is my grandson or granddaughter. No matter what happens tomorrow, that bond will remain. The morning began with a phone call from Eric Paxton. Mrs. Blackwood, it's Eric, remember me? Of course it's Eric. How could I forget one of my brightest students? The article's ready, he said. It'll be in the morning edition and online in an hour. I'm calling it Betrayal of Trust, how Silver Springs seniors are being robbed of their assets in a fraudulent scheme. Sounds impressive. It's gonna be a bombshell, Mrs. Blackwood. I've included not only your case, but the stories of other Silver Springs residents. Colonel Montgomery, Mrs. Wilkinson, Professor Chen. Martha helped with the evidence and legal aspects. An hour later, Nate showed me the article on his laptop screen. Eric spared no one, not Prescott and his network of high-end nursing homes, not the lawyers and doctors involved in the scheme, not the relatives who betrayed their elderly relatives for money. Chloe and Rafe have been cited as a prime example of how greed destroys family bonds. It's already going viral on social media, Nate said, showing the view count. People are outraged, especially parents who are thinking about their future. By noon, the phone was ringing off the hook. Former colleagues, students, neighbors, everyone wanted to express support and outrage at Chloe and Rafe's actions. Leontina filtered the calls, answering most of them herself. Channel 6 wants to interview you, she said. Local news in prime time. No, I shook my head. No interviews. Let Martha or Eric do the talking. I don't want to expose my pain. At 3 in the afternoon, Nate broke the news. Their plane landed, they took a cab and will be home in about an hour. They didn't suspect anything? I asked. Not according to recent reports. Chloe texted her friend that they were bringing you souvenirs from Bermuda and planned to stop by the Silver Keys tomorrow. Well, they're in for a surprise. At 4:30, we heard the sound of a cab pulling up. From the living room window, I could see Chloe and Rafe unloading their luggage. Tanned, rested, carefree, unaware that their world was about to fall apart. Are you ready? Leontina asked. I nodded, feeling strangely calm. The revenge I had so carefully planned suddenly seemed less important than truth and justice. I wanted not so much to punish them as to make them realize what they had done. The doorbell rang. Leontina opened it, and I heard Chloe's shocked exclamation. Leo, what are you? She faltered when she saw me standing in the hall. Mom? Hello, Chloe, I said calmly. Rafe, welcome home. What's going on? Rafe looked confused. You're supposed to be at the Silver Keys. Thanks to your efforts, I nodded. Fortunately, that plan failed, as well as your attempts to take possession of my house and money. Chloe turned pale. Mom, what are you talking about? We just wanted you to be looked after. Please, I raised my hand, stopping her. No more lies. We know everything about the forged documents, the conspiracy with Shepard and Greer, about trying to sell the house and access my accounts. Rafe tried to keep his composure. These are serious allegations, Alda. Do you have proof? More than enough, Nate said, coming out of the kitchen with a folder in his hands. All your correspondence, Greer's testimony, the forensics report on the forged signatures. Who the hell are you? Rafe frowned. This is my nephew Nate, I replied. The man who helped to uncover your scheme. Chloe slumped into the nearest chair, her face expressing panic. Mom, can we explain? There's no need. I stopped her again. It's all explained in today's Silver Springs Gazette. I suggest you read it. Nate handed them the paper with Eric's article on the front page. Rafe ran his eyes over the headline and turned pale. It's slanderous, he exclaimed. We're going to sue. I don't think so. Martha entered the room. All the facts are verified and supported by evidence. Besides, you'll be in more serious trouble with the law. Who are you? Chloe asked in a trembling voice. Martha Caulfield, your mother's attorney. And yes, I have a warrant to search your house and seize all documents related to the fraudulent scheme. As if on cue, the doorbell rang. Leontina opened it, letting in Detective Morales and 2 police officers. Rafe Hadley? Chloe Hadley? The detective asked, showing his badge. I have a warrant for your arrest on charges of fraud, forgery of documents, and attempted misappropriation of property. Chloe burst into tears, and Rafe, finally losing his temper, tried to run out the back door. One of the officers intercepted him in the kitchen. As they were being led away, Chloe turned to me with a pleading look in her eyes. Mom, please, I'm pregnant. Think of the baby. I looked at my daughter, a traitor, a fraud, and yet my daughter, the mother of my future grandson or granddaughter. I'll think about it, I said quietly. But first, you must realize what you've done and take responsibility. As the police car drove them away, I felt a strange emptiness, not relief, not triumph, but a quiet sadness. Victory had left a bitter taste. Are you all right? Leontina asked, putting her arm around my shoulders. I don't know, I answered honestly. This is my daughter, Leo, despite everything she's done. You did the right thing, Marta said. They broke the law and they have to answer for it. And what will happen to the others? I asked. Prescott, Shepard, Greer? Prescott's already been arrested, Nate answered. Shepard's under investigation. Greer's cooperating with the DA's office. And the rest of the Silver Keys residents? Martha's working on it, Leontina said. After Eric's article, many families contacted them, concerned about their elderly relatives. Judge Harrison ordered a complete audit of all placements there. In the evening, when Nate and Leontine stayed the night at my house, we sat in the living room discussing the previous day. What are you going to do now, Aunt Alda? Nate asked. I wondered, looking at the pictures on the mantelpiece. The story of my life in the pictures, with Howard, with Chloe, with the students. I'll move on, I said, helping others in a similar situation. Martha says my story can be an example to others and lead to changes in the law. What about Chloe and the baby? Leontina asked cautiously. I will not abandon my daughter, no matter what, I said after a pause, and I certainly won't leave my grandchild. But our relationship will not be the same. Trust is broken. That's understandable, Nate nodded. But you're not alone, Aunt Alda. You have us and all your students who are so grateful for your years of service. And a whole reading club at Silver Keys, Leontina added with a smile. Hattie called today. They think you're a hero. I smiled, feeling a rush of gratitude for these people who had become my real family. The phone rang. It was Martha with the latest news. Judge Harrison ruled that all Silver Keys residents placed there without their consent must be released within 48 hours. Colonel Montgomery, Hattie, Doris, they will all be free soon. That's the best news I've heard all day, I said, tears welling up in my eyes. And one more thing, Martha added. The prosecutor offered Chloe and Rafe a deal. If they fully admit guilt and return all the funds, Chloe could get probation because of the pregnancy. Rafe, of course, would have to do time. I breathed a sigh of relief. Despite everything, I didn't want my daughter to give birth in prison. Thank you, Martha, for everything. When I went to bed that night, I felt safe in my own home for the first time in a long time. The revenge plan had come to fruition. Justice had been served. Chloe and Rafe had faced the consequences of their actions. Prescott and his accomplices had been exposed, and the elderly people of Silver Keys would soon be free. But most importantly, I realized that I was not alone. That 37 years of teaching, 37 years of putting my soul into young minds, had created a network of connections that was stronger than blood ties. My students, friends, colleagues, they became my real family. And now, at 76, I was ready to begin a new chapter of my life. A chapter dedicated not to revenge, but to helping others. And perhaps rebuilding a relationship with my daughter, not the same as before, but based on new understandings and boundaries. And then there was the thought of a grandson or granddaughter, a new life soon to be born, a life I hoped to play a part in, no matter what. I fell asleep with the thought that tomorrow would be a new day, a day when Chloe and Rafe would fully realize that their fraudulent scheme had not only been uncovered, but had led to consequences they couldn't have foreseen. Chloe and Rafe's preliminary hearing was scheduled for 10 in the morning. I walked up the wide stairs of the county courthouse, leaning on Leontina's arm. Are you sure you want to be there? Leo asked. Martha can represent you. No, I shook my head. I have to be there, to see their faces when they realized it was over. Martha was waiting for us at the door of the conference room. They're here now, she said. With a lawyer, they'll deny malice, claiming they were acting out of concern for your well-being. Lies, I clenched my fists. We have evidence to the contrary. In the courtroom, I immediately noticed Chloe and Rafe at the defense table. My daughter looked haggard, with circles under her eyes. Rafe was outwardly calm, but his fingers were tapping nervously on the table. The district attorney laid out the charges: conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery of documents, and attempted misappropriation of property. Chloe and Rafe Hadley didn't just defraud an elderly woman, she said. They betrayed the defendant's own mother, a respected member of our community. The defense attorney objected, arguing that his clients acted in good faith and the financial transactions were necessary to pay for my maintenance. When the prosecutor read Rafe's personal correspondence, "The old lady will never know we sold her junk. By the time these pills kick in, she'll barely remember her name." Chloe burst into tears, covering her face with her hands. After a break, Martha announced the proposed deal. Rafe gets 3 years in prison. Chloe gets probation because of the pregnancy, plus full restitution. And if they refuse, then it's a full trial. Rafe could get up to 10 years, Chloe up to 5. "Let them take the deal," I said. "I don't want my grandson to be born behind bars." I ran into Chloe in the hallway. She asked for permission to talk. "Mom, I don't know what to say." "The truth," I suggested. "Just for now." It all started with Rafe's debts, the people he owed money to. They threatened. And when he proposed this plan with your house, I should have said no, but I was scared. "You could have come to me," I said. "I've always helped you." "I was afraid you'd be disappointed, and then it all went so fast." "What about the baby?" I asked. 17 weeks. It's a girl." "When you get out on bail," I said after a pause, "we'll talk about the future, about the baby, but not about you and me. That bridge is burned, Chloe." The next day, the Silver Springs newspapers came out with headlines about the case. Eric Paxton's article took center stage and linked my case to a systemic fraud that had flourished for years. The phone never stopped ringing. Former students, colleagues, neighbors expressed support. The Silver Springs community rallied around me, proving that true family is not always defined by blood ties. A week later, there was a hearing on the deal. Chloe and Rafe pleaded guilty. Rafe got 3 years in prison. Chloe got 5 years probation. They were ordered to pay restitution and reimburse all costs. The district attorney said Silver Keys is temporarily closed, with all residents either returned to their families or relocated elsewhere. Prescott is under investigation. Dr. Morris has had his license revoked. It was a victory. But why was there still an emptiness in my heart? In the evening, I wandered around my house for a long time, touching familiar objects. This was where Howard and I had spent our best years. Chloe had grown up here, but this house felt foreign now, tainted by betrayal. I called Nate. "I've made a decision," I said. "I'm selling the house." "Are you sure? It's a big decision." "Absolutely. I can't stay here. Too many memories. I need a fresh start." "And where will you move to?" "Something small, comfortable, no stairs. Maybe, close to you?" "I have a guest house at my house. You could live there, keep your independence, but have me close by." "Nate, I don't want to be a burden." "A burden? Aunt Alda, you saved me after my mom died. You helped me with college. Let me repay you just a little bit." The next day, I put the house on the market and started sorting through my belongings. It was a painful but cleansing process. Each item carried memories. Each thing had a story. I put Chloe's photos in a separate box. I couldn't take them with me or throw them away. 2 weeks later, the house was sold to a young couple with 2 children. I was relieved knowing there would be a real family here again. The day before the move, I received a letter from Chloe. She wrote about her remorse, her hope for forgiveness, her divorce from Rafe, asking if she could ever bring my granddaughter to meet me. I sat with that letter for a long time, not knowing how to respond. Eventually, I put it aside, deciding that time would tell me the answer. My new home, Nate's guest house, was perfect. One story, bright, with a small garden. I slept surprisingly well the first night. It was as if the weight of the past was still in the old house. In the morning, I sat down at my desk, opened a new notebook, and thought, what did I want to say to Chloe? After much thought, I wrote just one word: goodbye, not I'm sorry, not I forgive you, just goodbye. The end of one story and maybe the beginning of another. Someday, not now. I folded the note into an envelope, wrote Chloe's address, and put it on the table. I'll send it later. Or not at all. I stepped out onto the terrace and breathed in the fresh morning air. At 76, I was starting over, free of toxic relationships and betrayal. Nate came out of the main house carrying a tray with 2 cups of coffee on it. Good morning, Aunt Alda. How did you sleep in your new place? Surprisingly well, I smiled. It was like I was finally home. I used part of the money from the sale of the house to set up a fund to help elderly people who had been victims of financial fraud. The idea was born during my confinement at Silver Keys and grew stronger after talking to Hattie and the other residents. Leontina took over the organizational issues, and I became the face of the initiative, a living example that it is possible to resist the system and win. In the evening, watching the sunset, I thought about the turn my life had taken, about the betrayal, the pain, the struggle, and the unexpected release. An envelope with a note for Chloe lay on the table. One word, goodbye, the end and the beginning, a line under the past and the first step into the future. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Maybe in time it would find a way to reconcile with my daughter, maybe not. What mattered was that I was free, that I had won, and that there were many more days ahead filled with possibilities, days that belonged to me alone.